chat box for the asking questions that the
You can also raise your hand.
I prefer that they use the chat box because it gives me a time on it, and that way I can keep track of who's first and who's second. So please use the chat box so I have a time on it that I can call you in the correct order, and I won't. And that way we won't be going around. Somebody won't feel like that I've left them out.
I don't see the chat box on my screen.
President Margolis, we have been
At the
indicated by
bottom next to
TV6
shared screen.
that we are on the air.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. This is the regular open meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors for the nonprofit. This is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 9:30. We are doing a virtual meeting on Zoom today, so please bear with us. It's our first time using, and I want to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I want to thank the TV6, Grant, Chuck, and all the people behind the scenes that are making it possible for us to go forward and have meetings as we are doing. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, the minutes will be approved by acclamation. Does anybody have corrections to the minutes? Please raise your hand if you do. Okay, the minutes are then done by acclamation. So we're on to the report of the chair. I'd like to share a little bit of my history. Many years ago, when my children were little, the family got our first dog. Naturally, we wanted to have it well behaved. This was in the late 80s before Google. So we read books about the best forms of dog training. One thing we learned was that just saying no was not enough. No does not convey what is the preferred behavior. What activity is yes activity. And the best way in keeping things positive, praising and rewarding good behavior when you see it. There's so much negativity in the air, it's almost difficult to breathe. Please think of the staff. If every day you had to look at complaints, what would your reaction be? Are we getting where we want to be by complaining? Let's spend some time catching the staff doing something right. And let's not forget to look at opportunities to practice this with each other as well in the village and in our board meetings. No one comes to work saying, I'm going to do a bad job today. But morale plays an important part in the quality of work that is performed. No one wakes up in the village thinking, I'm going to be miserably negative today. When morale is high, people get more done. Let's raise the morale of the workforce, the residents in the village this month. Let me start with something positive. Most of the vulnerable residents have already had their vaccination and soon shall, due to the superlative job of the Memorial Care volunteers. It's wonderful having such a great relationship with Memorial Care, and things soon will start opening around us. Look forward to making this the best spring. Okay, I gather we have an open forum today. Eileen, would you like to read the ones that you have? We're going to limit it to 2 minutes because I hear there's a fair amount of people that want to speak. So let's go ahead. Go ahead, Eileen.
Good morning. Our first comment is from Joanne Manon, 136U. Please read this statement at the United Mutual Board meeting. I belong to platforms of social media. One of those is Nextdoor. In a short period of time, I've learned that you don't come there for factual information to learn by. Most facts are turned around and twisted and take on a new life. Everything of importance is changed into a political agenda with comments of nothing more than opinions and false information. I support your implementation of the social media policy as you are proposing for the above reason. I want to continue to love, learn, and grow with the community, knowing I have the real facts. The next comment is from Teresa Frost. Actually, yes. And she is at 411B. As a former Nextdoor lead and member, I would like to express my support of your social media policy. While social media can be a positive method for neighbors to connect, it's also been proven to be a tool for political agendas that breed misinformation. At Laguna Woods Village, with our diverse group of seniors, we need to be mindful to keep information clear and concise. Most HOAs have similar policies to ensure their communities are not corrupted by political agendas, and I support your measures to implement the social media policy you're proposing within United Mutual. Our next comment is from Joan Sang, Manor 2018-0. I would like to propose installing several recycling bins within Laguna Woods for plastic bag recycling. Currently, residents have to drive out to specific stores to drop off unused plastic bags for recycling. Having some recycling bins inside the village would make plastic bags recycling easier. Help save the Earth's environment. Thank you very much for considering this proposal. And the final comment that we have is from, hold on one second. Helen Zhao, 329D. And she says, Dear HOA board, I got 2 letters from compliance department which said I cannot have 30 pretty pots, blue and white flower porcelain, in my garden, even if I have reduced them from 55 to 30. But one of my neighbors can have 300 cheap plastic pots. Her house number is, maybe we won't read that, and is within 2 minutes walking from my home. Attached, please find photos of 300 cheap pots in her garden. Also, another family have 50 and another have 40. I do not think it's fair since we paid the same amount of HOA fees, but where we treated differently. How come she can have 300 cheap pots, but I cannot have 30 pretty pots? I hope I can be treated equally, not because she is a white woman and I'm an Asian woman, not because she is a senior resident and I am a new resident. I believe judge at court will say, no, it is unfair, injustice, inequality, discrimination if I go to court. Please correct yourself by approving my application and allow me to put 30 pots in my garden as the rest of the residents do. Or nobody should have pots in the village at all. Human being needs beds for sleeping, plants need pots to hold them. Nothing's wrong with the pots, otherwise Home Depot would not sell them. Thank you for your understanding and help. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay, do we have a number of people that would like to speak, participants? Grant?
If there is any residents who would like to speak, please raise your hand at this time using the raise hand feature. For education, the raise hand feature should be down at the bottom of your screen. It should be a yellow hand that says raise hand. If you click on that, you may raise your hand and that will indicate that you wish to speak.
Grant, I don't know if this means anything, but there is a comment here from Dick Rader saying that signing on to the meeting by clicking on residents and then board meeting videos does not appear to provide an icon to raise the hand and make a comment. I believe the icon appears only if you're given a link to the meeting.
Yes, that's correct. The link to the meeting is on TeamUp and on the agenda for this meeting for Zoom. You can only speak at the Zoom link, not Granicus.
Okay, well, we'll hope that they relink. I want to just make a comment here about social media. I put the social media topic on the closed meeting session for the following reasons. 1, the lawyer needs to be in attendance, and we're limiting his attendance to save money. 2, I wanted a full board discussion instead of just the governing docs committee. The resolution is not in final form, It will not be voted on until it comes before an open meeting board presentation. If you want to give us input, we will accept it. We are very much open to input on this, and we're going to be working with Eileen to find ways to get around it and ways to make sure that all of the board members feel like they have a voice. So that's why it is on the closed meeting. I've heard some people comment on that.
President Margolis,
Yeah,
we do have a
yeah.
comment from a resident, Jeannie Braden.
Please bring them on board. Jeannie, would you unmute yourself? You're on board now. On the lower left corner is a speaker. If you tap on that, you'll be unmuted. Jeannie, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Right. So if this is open, why is there no chat? Why are you guys muting the chat so we can't make comments?
The chat is going to be used by the board members in order for us to keep track of time and so forth. So please go ahead and give us your comments. We're open to them.
That was one of my comments right there, is that you guys are not being real open with us.
What all our board members will be doing is putting question marks in the chat box.
I should be able to leave comments and then you could read them. You don't have to stop the meeting for that.
Well, we prefer that everything is so that you hear it on the television. We don't want to put comments in the chat box that aren't displayed to the people who are watching it on the television.
Okay,
so
now
that is why we use the chat box.
Okay.
So do you have any other comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to see more communication between residents and the board members.
Okay, and how would you like us to do that?
You could use Nextdoor.
Okay, all right, we'll be looking into that this afternoon.
All righty, that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Anything more?
I sent you an email. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming on board.
Thank you, Sue.
Is there anybody else on that wants to speak? Grant?
Yes, we have one from Annie Z.
Okay. Annie, would you go ahead? And there you are. Great.
Hi, thank you, Sue. I would just like to, as I wrote a letter to the Globe last week, I am opposed to closing off social media for our directors and communication with the residents. I really like when I see our board members on Nextdoor. They could easily put a disclaimer that they're only speaking for themselves and they're not there, but because they are also residents here in Laguna Woods, and they have their own experiences also with the boards and with living here, with the issues that that people have from living here, and they are residents, and I really like to see them on social media because that is the way we do communicate now. And I just want to remind you all that the last president of the United States got on his tweet every day to communicate. So, this is the way things are now. This is the world, and the world is communicated through social media.
Okay, thank you very much. We will take your comments. Our lawyer has drawn up a statement to be put into social media if we permit our directors to do this. So we are looking at that situation, and we appreciate your input.
Thank you so much. I just want to say this about the lawyers. It finally realized to me every time you talk about lawyers is that we're paying for them out of our dues. And it's like a lawyer who's going against us with our money. And that really upsets me. I find that to be, because if somebody wanted a lawyer up against you, then you're paying for both sides.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're really concerned about our lawyer fees and take them into account all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else, Grant?
Yes, we have a comment from a Monica B.
Hi. Thanks for taking this. Can you just explain what the positives or what the reasoning would be behind voting for a do not communicate with social media? Can you? I don't understand what the positive aspect of that would be. I don't get cutting off communication. Could you explain that?
Certainly. The situation is when you become a board member, you speak for the board. So every one of us needs to be in line with the rest of the board members, unless we figure out a way to make it so that they can put a disclaimer in. But when you're a part of the board, we vote on things and you have to support. You're part of the unit. And so every information that you put out reflects on the board. And so we're very concerned that if we have a rogue director or something goes on, that they put out a message that is incorrect, we can be sued because they are part of the board. And that is the reasoning on it. So we're trying to get a happy medium so that we know that everybody knows when something's put out by a board member that it is what the board voted on, and we will be able to do it that way. So that is the situation with what we're doing right now. And we have not put together our social media, and we're looking at all the variants that we can look at to make sure that we communicate with the residents as much as we possibly can.
I understand that, but you're not saying that all of the board has to agree to a particular thing before it's voted on, are you?
Definitely not before
Okay.
it's voted on, but
Right.
once it's voted on, they have to back the board.
I understand that, but prior to voting, would it?
Well, then if it's put on social media prior to voting, then it cannot be considered a board. If people see it and think it's the board voted on it, then we're in trouble. And you can see that there is a fine line there.
I definitely can see there's a very definite line there. But if something hasn't been voted on, wouldn't the chatter, if you will, or wouldn't the communication from the residents be helpful in order to go into a vote?
We do get, that's why you're on this meeting, is so that you can give us the feedback before we vote.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Cash, not yet. Okay, is there any other speaker? I see that there are 4 people that we've been telling to raise their hand, but they don't see the chat. Okay.
President Margolis, I do not see anybody currently raising their hand.
Right, and so there's Richard and Dick Rader and Sandy Stone that haven't been able to get in somehow or another. If they would send us an email,
I do see now that
go ahead.
that Richard Rader has raised his hand.
Okay, go ahead, put him on. Okay, Richard, we're ready for you. Please unmute yourself. Okay, go ahead. Now you're on.
Okay. May I make a strong suggestion? I attend many meetings. In the past several, I couldn't find the raise the hand icon. And if I can't find it, I'm sure there are a lot of people in the village can't. What the problem is it's not been told in printed matter or any publication that tells you, as far as I know, how to get on to the Zoom meeting. That would be most helpful if that could be done, because most people are going to go to the Granicus site, which I've been doing. And it's not apparent how to get onto the Zoom. So I strongly urge that be done.
Okay, since this is our first meeting, we will take that very important message. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to have Jeff. There were two things that were non-social media. There was the pots, which I think needs to go to landscape. Andre, you've got that one on your and need to figure out what you're going to do about pots. The other one was, I can't remember now, I'm sorry.
We had one on
Siobhan, do
recycling.
you remember with you?
We had one on recycling. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah, the bags. Okay, so those two will be taking a look. Okay, Cash, you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, my comment thank you, Ms. President, was that nobody mentioned their manor numbers or phone names. And if we have to have a good record, we should have.
Well, we've got their names. We can probably look them up, and you're correct. From now on, we need to request the manor number. Thank you, Cash. It was a good reminder. Okay, I think we're ready for your report, Cash.
Sue, I'm sorry to interrupt you just for a minute, but
Sure.
I just want to let Director Rader or Mr. Rader know that last week's What's Up in the Village that went out has a very detailed tutorial on how to attend the meetings and comment via Zoom. So you might want to go back and take a look at that.
That's very much appreciated. That does answer his question. Okay, Cash. I don't see.
Thank you, Ms. President. From the last meeting, we have a couple of comments made by residents. First item, one gentleman expressed concern about noise coming from the manor above his unit, and there seems to be an ongoing renovation project, he claimed. The response is, the alterations department visited that unit on February 9th and reported that the unit is no longer in construction and the member is in process of moving in, and there should be no more noise later. The compliance department has reached out to the reporting party on February 9th and will continue to monitor this matter before considering it resolved. Second one, another resident expressed the need for more frequent carport cleaning in certain locations during the fall and winter due to frequent foliage droppings. The response to that is the carports are cleaned 3 times per year, starting in late March, then summer and late fall. The person should call resident services if she needs additional services due to heavy foliage. And those are the comments. Thank you.
Okay, I've got 2 hands up. Would you use the chat box if you're on a panelist? Okay, because I can't keep track of the order, so I'm going to just go by alphabet. Andre, go first.
Andre. Should we allow Jeff to respond then first, then we add in, because I don't want to see as a particular voice rather than the VMS voice.
Yes, I asked Jeff to respond.
Right. So, you're just asking for questions. No, I don't have any questions. I thought I was going to respond. Okay.
Well, no. Okay. If you want to respond now, it's your chance to respond. Jeff responded already.
Well, okay. One issue about I didn't talk about share with us that it's published on how to use Zoom on the newsletter. This is exactly the time that we need to use social media to communicate with residents. Apparently, many people don't know. So this published newsletter is a silent announcement people don't know that it's in there. Even I don't even know that it's in there if I don't read it. Okay, so is it possible that we publish in social media and say, okay, we have this one, here's the link, please read it. And if anybody asks the question, just send out the same message again and again and again.
Okay.
Other than just they have to come here to get the information.
Well, the reason we have this meeting is so they can get information. Thank you. Now,
If this is the
Andre,
only place
you're
they
done.
can get information, I have some problem there.
okay, I hear you, and we'll discuss that this afternoon. Elsie?
Yeah, I just wanted to, on Cash's report about the man who complained about the noise. He's right behind me, and the woman, she didn't have the alteration was over months ago, and she was repairing a damaged shower thing. But anyway, she's moved. She's gone. She's out of here. She was out of here a couple of weeks ago. So I think what he heard was her packing her stuff because she's out of there.
Okay, thank you.
So if he shouldn't be complaining anymore, I don't think.
Right, that's what they're hoping. Okay. Please put your question marks in the chat box so I can see you. So now I'm going to go to Azar, who's put her question marks in the chat box.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, regarding to the response that Eileen says information is in the brief, non-stop new people buying and coming to the United, just putting information in one magazine 1 month is not enough. It should be in the website. It should be in the website, one page, like every business you go, they took a picture even, they show where to click, where to find the link, and how with the picture. I suggested we have a good example in the trunk. If you ask him, he can put a page in the website and everybody be clear on that for newcomer to the residents that they don't have this month Breeze magazine. Thank you.
Thank you. Reza?
Sue, my video went away. Can somebody help me to see how can I bring it back?
Okay. They'll get you on the phone, so please put your...
We see you.
We see you perfectly.
Yeah, but I don't see myself on the corner, which I used to see them.
Okay. All right, Eileen.
Reza, if you only see Sue's picture in the lower right hand, there's an icon there. Click that icon, it will open up the whole screen.
Lower right hand.
Of the Sue's image there is an icon there. Click that and we'll see everybody.
Okay. Eileen, go ahead.
I don't
just wanted to clarify something. I said what's up in the village, which is the weekly email that goes to over 16,000 of our residents. Therefore, it is on the website. It's every time that email goes out on a Friday. Every one of those items is posted to the website. I don't want you to be confusing it with the magazine, with the Breeze. So as soon as we made the jump over to using this platform, I hear all of everyone's input. Let's just be clear. We have very well thought out ways of getting information out. So that is on the website and it is in the weekly email. So I'd be happy to send anybody the links to that. But the magazine is separate. We're talking about two different things.
Okay, thank you. Carl, please.
Eileen said what I was going to say because everything that's in that weekly thing links to a place on our website. So it's on our website, and the weekly newsletter provides all of those links. So and I read it last week because as a board member, I want to keep abreast of all of the things that are happening within the village. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to the CEO report. I think we've covered this and we'll be covering it more in the closed meeting when we get there. And I haven't seen Norm come in, so we're going to go on to this
President
CEO
Margolis,
report.
I
Yes.
Director Norman Kahn has indicated that he is present.
Okay, then let's go ahead. Norm, you're on. Norm, have you heard me? Did you hear me? Can you chat? Okay. Let's go ahead then. Can you get him on? I don't know. All right. Jeff, go ahead and then we'll get Norm on.
Good morning, Board of Directors and President Margolis. I have three things to cover. One is just an update on COVID and our operations. So the good news with regards to COVID numbers is that over the last 3 weeks, we've seen a steady decline in the, I'm going to take this off and speak a little clear, a steady decline in the numbers in Orange County and a very small uptick in the Laguna Woods numbers, which is for the city of Laguna Woods, which we're certainly a key part of. The number of cases, positive cases, has progressed under 200. It's averaging well under that, actually below 150. And our tests, our positive tests, are continuing to decrease. The reality is that there is a hope that as of the numbers that come out today, that Orange County could be potentially moving into the red zone. If that doesn't occur today, i.e. tomorrow, I think it's a very positive note that it would occur next week. But the reason I say that is because 2 of the 3 critical numbers that they look at, which is positivity cases and the health index, are already in the orange category. It's dropped down to into the orange category, which is really, really good. We're still in one category in the purple, but it's trending towards the red, and is anticipated, like I said, that Orange County will drop into that red category. Each category, once you drop into a new category, such as us moving from purple to red, adds a little flexibility, especially in the private sector with regards to opening up restaurants and some businesses to a little more capacity. It will allow us to address pickleball doubles. We were able to move forward pickleball doubles by requiring people to give us a release, but going into the red, the release is no longer required as part of the red category. And once you get into the orange, you're even given greater capability as far as capacities. So we're looking forward to hopefully seeing that happen in early April. It takes 3 weeks under the current guidelines. Once you go into the red, it takes 3 weeks to, even if your numbers are there, to transition to the next color. So anticipating this week going to the red would be in the second week of April going into the orange category. That's all positive from my perspective on seeing the numbers and giving us more flexibility. Wanted to briefly mention the vaccine clinic that we've been holding over the last few weekends. We've been doing our second dose to our residents. We've done approximately 8,000 residents have received their second dose. That was a very effective approach that we took with regards to working with Memorial Care and their volunteers, and Eileen coordinating that along with our staff involved with operations. So I want to thank them for all of that. We have one more day of our second dose, which is this coming Friday. We will be concluding our second dose applications with that activity. We are also doing our in-home vaccinations, second doses, to conclude that operation. I wanted to mention, if any individuals did not get a first vaccine, We are taking two approaches. One, we want to inform people that they can still go on Othena, which is OTHENA.com. That is the website in which you can go and register to get a vaccination through the county. And that is available with the sites SoCa and Disneyland, and now they're working at Anaheim Convention Center, I also believe. There is also a myturn.ca.gov, which is a site where you can go and register, which is related to the state of California. And that also gives you information and gets you into the loop with regards to where you can go and get vaccinated. And then we also mentioned this last week that we received information, and it's out there now, that Rite Aid is through riteaid.com/COVID-19 is providing appointments and vaccinations as well. So there's 3 sites that you can go to get registered and get that first vaccine if you decided to wait or you weren't sure or whatever your rationale was at that time. Now, if you're interested, you can go through that process. We are also evaluating, and by taking people's information through info@lagunawoodsvillage.com, we were asking residents to submit their names and information if they wanted to get on a waiting list. So we were evaluating whether or not there's the possibility of getting additional vaccines through Memorial Care and the county, so that we could do potentially a one-day vaccination clinic using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a one-shot process, and looking at doing what we'll call catch-up or a single vaccination day to address people who are 65 and over in the village who chose not to at the time or for whatever reason wasn't able to get the first vaccine. Now, we know a lot of people have gone outside of the village to do that, so that's great. We want to encourage you to continue to do that. Our goal is to get as many people 65 and over vaccinated. As far as regulations from the CDC or the feds or state, they haven't brought out anything new with regards to people who are under 65 at this point in time. They're still focusing on everybody 65 and over. So I wanted to just mention that with regards to COVID. In operation point of view, one of the things that we've been talking about is how do we move forward and where do we move forward with regards to reopening facilities and how is that going to be promulgated out. So we've been working on that. The 2 things that we're focusing right now is, again, once we go into the orange category, we'll be able to evaluate what type of activities we can do in April with regards to our clubhouses and our bigger activities where we have clubs and more of a community activism. In the meantime, as we go to red, we're going to look at some additional outside services that we can do with recreation. So we're in the works of doing that. And then internally, one of the things that we're going to announce on Friday, and we're putting together all the details of it, is that we're going to look at some appointment-only basis access to our manor alterations and our resident services. This would be where you would call in, make an appointment. You as an individual would come in. You'd be wearing a mask. We'd ask you to have your temperature checked. And then once that was done, you could have your appointment that you've made. And the purpose of that is to address a few resident services questions, although we're doing that very, very well right now by phone and by computer. But in the area of manor alterations, we have a new permit system, as you know, where we're trying to make it easier through United. And we want to make sure people have an understanding of how to go about doing that. And if they need to come in and get help in basically doing that entry level, asking questions, getting an application in. These appointments will not be for going over major workloads or applications or processes that at this point in time that are in the works already. This is really to be the entry level, how can we help you? We're looking at precise timeframes, and I hope I will have that. We'll have that on Friday And then we're going to roll that out, and we're looking at an effective date of Wednesday of next week would be the first day that appointments would be made available. So we can announce it on Friday, get it in the blast on Friday, also announce it on Monday, and have people start having the opportunity to have appointments. And we're looking at obviously rolling this out slowly because we're having to deal with staffing and where we're going to put the staff appropriately protected. So we're going to be looking at from 8 to noon for manor alterations, and then in the afternoon for resident services, so that we don't conflict with people hanging out in the lobby and all of that. So I'll have more detail by the end of the week, but I'm pleased that we're going to be able to take that small incremental step to address people. And I just wanted to mention also with regards to our resident services, we're already doing outside appointments where we do our RFID and signing documents and stuff like that, that is referred to our resales or residential services. So we're already meeting with people, but we're doing that outside. We'll continue that operation at this point in time. And that's all I have, and I'm turning over to Siobahn. I know she has a few items.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few announcements for you this morning, please. First off is new resident orientation. Residents new to the village are encouraged to attend a virtual new resident orientation session. These informational sessions are an opportunity for new residents to become familiar with the operating rules of your mutual and to talk to a board member who represents your mutual. The next orientation for new United residents is tomorrow, Wednesday, March 10th at 4:30 p.m. Residents must RSVP by emailing Executive Assistant Becky Jackson. Her email address is becky.jackson@vmsinc.org. Arizona Pipeline is working in the village to upgrade Southern California Edison equipment at 5 locations. The SCE equipment upgrade work in United is underway on Via Mendoza by Building 871 and on Via Alhambra by Buildings 815 and 685. Village landscaping, asphalt, and concrete affected by the work will be replaced by SCE Arizona Pipeline to village satisfaction. The Pool 1 boiler is in the process of being replaced. This is going to take approximately 4 weeks to receive, install, and configure the new boiler. While this development affects pool temperature, Pool 1 will remain open until such time as the temperature drops too low to allow swimming. Staff is covering the pool nightly to retain as much heat as possible. The Recreation and Special Events Department will keep residents apprised of the progress of the boiler replacement. Spring carport cleaning begins in United on Tuesday, March 23rd, beginning in cul-de-sac 9 and cul-de-sac 62 to 67. The schedule will be available on the website and be included in Friday's What's Up in the Village e-blast. The cleaning will go on through the end of April. And just a reminder that Saturday, March 20th is the next free bulky item collection date. Please remember to notify resident services prior to setting out any materials. The number for resident services is 949-597-4600. Place your bulky items next to the trash enclosure or in the same location you set out your trash bins. The items should be set out the night before or no later than 7 a.m. on Saturday, March 20th. That concludes my updates this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Siobahn and Jeff. Andre, you had a question? Okay. Norm, can you're on and I can see you and I can probably hear you. Let's hear you.
Okay, thank you, Madam President, and good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be reporting to you on my recent VMS board activities for the first time since becoming a United VMS director. Last Saturday, Sue's blog covered most items from VMS that we will be dealing with, as well as from the VMS board meeting of last Wednesday, March 3rd. My report will simply cover these items and in more depth, as well as some other issues. To begin, the village staffing needs remains a challenge, as VMS is still struggling to fill some positions. As of March 1st, there are 36 unfilled openings, of which 22 of these are full-time and 14 part-time. Problem area is maintenance and construction, which currently has openings for 12 full-time employees, or over half of all open full-time positions. The competition with outside contractors is the major problem, as construction in Orange County is booming. Human Resource Manager Carrie Weldon and VMS staff as well is diligently working on alleviating the problem in a very difficult labor market. On the positive side of employment, there are 7 candidates who appear to be qualified for the village chief financial officer position. The interview and selection process will begin this month, as an interview committee has now been formed. The VMS board also has been discussing the social media policy currently in view and debate at the other boards. It was agreed that the VMS is going to wait until the various boards take a position on this issue before discussing it any further. Also, we had a long discussion on about the success and attendance of the directors' training meetings, which is continuing as we speak. Pardon me. It was unanimously agreed that this educational process is very helpful, particularly for new board members like me. In the future, new board members will be given educational materials and access to the video training classes, which should bring them up to speed a lot faster and easier. CEO Jeff Parker gave the board an update on the COVID vaccination status, which he also did today, so I won't go over that. The last figure that I heard was over 8,000 residents have been vaccinated for both, and that does not include villages who had their vaccinations elsewhere, such as Disneyland, Soka, or even some pharmacies. The board praised the great work of Memorial Care volunteers, doctors and nurses, as well as many village volunteers, like our own Juanita Stowell, all of whom did an outstanding job dealing with very large numbers of people. We are greatly indebted to Memorial Care and our own folks like Juanita and Jeff Parker, who also volunteered. We sincerely thank you all. Another important item that we discussed at length was the reopening of more facilities, which CEO Parker also discussed today, which of course, my speaking about it would be redundant to what he said. So until we move to the next year, I guess it's tennis and pickleboard will now be open for doubles. The VMS board is continuing to advocate opening more areas as allowed and when safe for members and staff. We all understand the need to do so, as the village is anxious, having been locked down for so long. We're all in the same boat, of course, but safety is paramount. On other matters, the VMS board is working diligently to continue to help solve VMS and village problems and to expedite services to all of the community. There are many things in the works, including United passing the new 6-month trial permitless alteration policy system, which should greatly reduce the time needed for certain repairs and changes to the manners. I also heard, I think I received a memo on it, that great progress has been made in reducing the wait time needed to speak to a resident service rep, as several major changes have been made in the program. All resident services and activities are on the front burner of VMS as the village begins to climb back to some kind of normal. That's my report, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Thank you very much. Andre, do you have a question?
Yes, I have some questions to Norm. First, you talk about staffing shortage. We cannot compete outside. What is the answer at this point of VMS? This is not a board issue. This is a VMS issue. What is the answer at this point that we can compete with outside? What are the hold on. Let me finish all my questions.
I can't hear you. So if you could repeat your question, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. You mentioned about the staff shortage. and mentioned that our compensation level cannot compete with outside vendors. This is a VMS issue. This is not a board issue. So what is the solution for that? What does VMS propose to change in order to reduce that shortage? Okay. Second one is you mentioned that social media, VMS is waiting for Mutual to come up with social media before you come up, VMS coming up with social media policy. I think these two are totally separate issues. VMS is all about what needs to be done. What should the VMS do? And we are, Mutual side is talking about what we cannot do. These are totally different issues. And also the do's need to come before the don'ts. So I would like to hear what.
Okay, Andre, I think he's got your feelings, so let's let him answer your question.
It's not just a feeling, okay? It's the way that things work. We need to identify the do's before we identify the don'ts. Once the do's are identified, then we can say what else is in there, okay? And also the third one is to, I'm not sure it's a JF or VMS, but we were talking about Eileen will provide a VMS social media policy or plan. I haven't heard about it. Is it coming or is it going to be?
It will be in our closed meeting. Please hold off, okay?
I thought it was decided that we deciding.
No, it will be in the closed meeting at this time because she has not completed it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, on the first question, we have an outside service who is looking for employees. We also have the union who, for the most part, are trying to find people to fill the openings. So that's what's being done in that department. They can't create employees out of thin air, so they have to find those, and we're digging. On the second issue, the VMS position basically is that we are waiting to see what the various boards come up with as far as their thoughts on the social media. And you're right, we are the ones who will ultimately decide what it's going to be in some cases, but each board may have their own policy. So until we find out what the boards want, we obviously can't vote on anything. As far as the third issue, that's being taken up later, so I'll pass that on to the next person.
Okay, I have some question about, you mentioned about staff shortage, waiting for need to negotiate, work with the union and working with outside agencies.
Andre, that is something that needs to be discussed in the closed session, not in the open session. Thank you. Let's move on.
What I'm trying to find out is that the residents need to have answers. Okay, instead of a closed meeting,
Okay, I hear you, and we will work on it.
This is a policy issue. This is not a personnel issue. Okay,
we will discuss it in the closed meeting. Thank you. Let's move on. We've got to go to the consent calendar. Now, Brian, we'll take your problem up when we get to the unfinished business. Okay? Thank you, Brian, for your comment. I'm sorry we didn't catch it when we were doing that. So do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
I so move.
I second it.
So it's Brian and Carol.
No, wait, okay, now can we discuss it? I'm sorry, can we discuss it now?
Yeah, now you can discuss it, Elsie.
I'm putting it in the chat box.
Oh, just go ahead now, come on.
Okay, I just had one little on the consent calendar on page 5 of 24, which is part of this, the conditions of approval on the variance request of the variance request, I don't want to use names, just page 5 of 24. There's a double sentence. If you look at, does everybody have their copy? anyway, if you look at number 18, the last sentence in the paragraph is dumpsters must be ordered from the approved city of Laguna Woods. Well, that actually should be number 19, which it is. So it needs to be deleted from number 18. It's just a Scrivener thing, but needs to be corrected.
Thank you. Alrighty, is there anybody else that objects to this? Then we'll move forward.
President Margolis, we do have Richard Rader who has raised their hand. If you would like to permit him to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and put Richard on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can. Now you're muted. Try to unmute your. There you go.
Okay, that raised hand is an error. I have nothing to say.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other thing, we'll take the consent calendar by acclamation with the Scrivener correction. So we're now on to unfinished business, and we're on to Azar.
Yes,
Azar and Diane.
Madam President. Still, unfortunately, I cannot ratify November 2020 and December 2020. The request was sent and we had a meeting with the finance. I have not received timely manner to review things. So unfortunately, both months cannot be ratified at this moment.
What is the status on January?
January can be ratified.
Okay. Diane?
Yes, I agree with Azar.
Okay. All right, we'll take a vote because I know there's going to be a no vote on this. So let's go ahead and I'll take a vote. Carl?
So we're ratifying January and we're not ratifying November and December because that's not
Correct.
what it says.
That is correct, Carl.
So we have to modify this somehow, I guess, and say January only?
January only. That's the modification.
Okay, so if it's January only based on what Azar said, I say yes.
Cash? See Cash. Andre?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cash?
I say yes. Yes.
Elsie?
I vote yes, except there's also one, just as another Scrivener on the recommendation from the United Landscape Committee. That should say 2030A Avenida Via Puerta, not Avenida Castilla. But aside from that, again, I vote yes.
Okay. Okay, Manuel? He's not here. Netta?
Excuse me, Madam President, could you read the motion again? Because what Elsie explained is not...
We are consistent with the statutory obligation, 5501. We are going to ratify the review of the thing for the month of January. Such review is hereby ratified. And the other 2 months are not ratified. Netta?
The comment that Elsie, that wasn't the
That's a completely different matter.
different matter. Why she said that one here in the middle of the motion?
I'm very sorry. I thought we were voting on the whole consent calendar. I'm sorry. I was reading and listening at the same time. I apologize.
Okay, Azar, your vote.
Yes.
Reza, your vote.
Yes.
Brian, your vote.
Yes.
And Diane.
Yes.
Okay. We have one abstention and 10 yeses. Let's move on. Okay, now B, Brian, go ahead and explain what needs to be done on B.
Yes, thank you. We must have been clairvoyant when this one came on, got onto the agenda. It was a good thing. Resolution 02113 is a 6-month variance moratorium. The problem here is it's effective today. The hammer was dropped early, and what I mean by that is that people's variance request was denied before the effective date, but also the contractors have not been informed. It was the intent of the resolution to inform the contractors about the variance moratorium. So, I would like to make a motion that we delay the effective date of the variance moratorium by 1 month, make it effective April 9th.
I second that motion.
You're muted, Sue.
I've got a plumber in here doing work, so I have to mute when he cuts. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Robbie, do you want to discuss anything? Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, then we will take a vote. Carl?
I would like to say that in this particular case, now that it's going to go into the rule book as to April 9th, then between now and April 9th, the notice should be put out to the contractors and the residents to be aware that if April 9th is a drop dead date. If they don't put that notice out, these people were going to go into the same thing. There was a communications blockage. We need to communicate it to everybody that April 9th is the drop dead date now.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Anybody else have any comments? All right. Yes, Reza, go ahead.
I have a question. What is this variance about? I can't remember the 02913.
Okay, we are putting a moratorium on putting in any variances to the, so that there will be no variances allowed for 6 months until we get caught up on all the work in the architectural or MA group.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, all right, we're going to take a vote now. Carl?
Yes.
You vote yes. Thank you, Reza. Carl?
Yes.
Cash?
My question is, I'm voting yes, but we are holding any variances until April 9th, or are we putting a moratorium until April 9th?
On April 9th, you will not be able to submit, after April 9th, for 6 months, you will not be able to submit a variance. And we need to get the realtors and everybody in the know that after April 9th, for 6 months, we hope it's less, but we're putting this out for 6 months to see if we can get caught up.
And then we are going to allow for people to submit variances until April 9th?
Until April 9th, we're allowing them to submit variances.
I abstain.
May I make a clarification here?
Go ahead, Reza.
Yeah, this does not apply to the application which are in. This only applies to new applications.
That is correct.
Thank you.
So my vote is abstain.
Andre?
Yes.
Elsie?
Yes.
Manuel? I can't hear you, Manuel. You're muted.
I know, I'm trying, okay, I got unmuted. Okay, my vote is no.
Okay.
And did we already vote on 11A? Because I had to take a telephone call. Did we vote?
Yep, we voted on it, and I put you down as an abstention.
Well, no, my vote is no, and that's because we're in violation of Civil Code 5515.
All right, I'll take it as a no now. It's not a problem.
my comment is important. We are in violation of Civil Code 5515. And so I'm notifying all directors of that, including the VMS. And I had to take a telephone call. The other reason I missed that. Very important. You all need to look up Civil Code 5515 because all the mutuals have been in violation of that requirement for a number of years. Okay, it's no different 5510 A and B. So now I'm alerting you all. We have major violations with Civil Code 5515. And my vote is no. My vote no.
Got you down.
On both of them.
On both of them. Netta?
So I have a question. It's just kind of confusing for me. If somebody's buying the home, they close the escrow, for example, around the April, and they want to go move on, but doesn't have a good flooring, and they want to change the flooring to just live in the unit, what they can do?
That isn't an alteration. That is a normal thing. It's not a variance. So a variance means that you're structurally changing the place.
But for the flooring, they're supposed to get the permit.
Yeah,
I mean, that all the permits or just the...
Netta, it doesn't mean you can't get permits. What it says is you can't do any modification to the building that requires structural changes.
Okay, structural changes. Okay.
What's your vote?
I prefer to do the abstain.
Okay. Azar?
Abstain.
Abstain. Brian?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
So we have 3 abstentions and 1 no. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses. It passes. Moving on now to committee reports. Okay. You're on, Azar, with the financials.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Can we, who is in charge to putting the chart up?
Branch is in charge.
Thank you so much. Just let you residents know that the Finance Committee had a meeting on February 23rd, 2021, and the next meeting will be March 30th, 2021 at 1:30 as a virtual meeting. This is a treasurer report. You can see the first chart is reporting as of January 31st, talking about the total income as a revenue. We have 2 kinds, assessment revenue of 3.7 million and non-assessment 76,000, end up with a total revenue of 3.8 million. If the minus of the total expenses, 3.3, we end up with a net revenue of 534,000. Can we have the next page, please? In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial result. So here is the operating fund. So that's page 2. Yes, operating funds only. So the assessment from revenue from the operating was 2.8, and non-assessment revenue, including many items like laundry or income investment, was $121,000, end up with total revenue of 2.9 million, minus the total expenses of 2.5 million, end up with operating surplus for the end of January, $343,000. This is without deducting depreciation. Can we have page 3, please? This chart is important because is a full income statement and compares those results to the budget. You can see, as I said, the net surplus revenue is 534. If you are the budget was minus 93,000. So in that case, when you add together, we end up the variance of $627,000 for the month of January, favorable to the United. And then the next page, please. This page is important because you can see where those favor to the United comes up when you're adding. You can see outside services was favorable to United, 376,000. And this is basically was based on the timing of the project. And the next one up to that is 155,000 regarding to the compensation. A favorable variance result primarily in M&C department and landscape due to timing and limited services during the COVID-19 pandemic. As you can see, the next is material and supplies, which is 70,000. Again, favorable variance resulting in several areas in operation. And we can see the next one is 41,000 in property and sale tax. Favorable variance result due to lower property tax expenses than anticipated. The only unfavorable that you can see is unrealized gain loss on investment. This was about $52,000 unfavorable variance due to adverse condition for bond investment during the reporting period, which was January 31st. Can we have the slide 5? This is easier on the eyes because it's a pie chart, and you can see this is a total non-assessment revenue. As I said, non-assessment means those that is basically comes from the charges. As you can see, 91% of this $76,000 come from fee and charges from the residents, and only 9% cover with the others like lease processing fee, investment income, laundry, and other income that VMS can charge a resident. And the next slide, we can talk about the total expenses. I like pie charts because it's easier on the eyes and you can see. This is the total expenses for the month of January, $3.3 million. And you can see that 34% of that is from employee compensation, followed by 29% property and sale tax. In the next chart, we can see we take this one off. But when you put together, they bring the percentage of insurance down to 10% and utility 10%. You can see on the right side of the chart the breakdown of the utility, if you are seeing here, which is water, trash, electricity, and I don't know why the telephone is only $56. Can we have the next chart, please? This is the total expenses like the other chart, which is pie chart, but we just took the property tax and sales tax out of that. Then you can see now this is the whole expenses, which is almost 50% of the money goes to the compensation. And that's what they're paying to getting the service. And follow up with the 14% of insurance, which equal to 14% of utilities. As you can see, it goes on with the 10% outside services, 8% material and supplies, and net allocation to mutual 5%. Can we have the next chart, please? We are very interested in knowing the balance in the funds. As you know, all of residents, we have two kind of funds, contingency and reserve. And you can see the beginning of the January was contingency $921,000. Contribution for the January was $62,000. With the reverse of some echo expenses, $11,000 added to that, we end up with $994,000, almost $1 million in contingency fund. And if you check on the right side for the reserve, we started with 20.2 million, and contribution for the January was 855,000. However, we had the expenditures of 720,000, which end up with, as end of January 31st, $20.3 million for the reserve account. Can we have the next page, please? This is the fund balance comparing the last 5 years, and we like to just compare to see where we stand. If you look at that, the very tiny line, blue line on the top, shows the average line, which is 21 million, and you can see we are in that average of the 5 years. Comparing to putting contingency and reserve together, we are above $21 million. And the last, we always like to give update on resale history for United. We can see that we're comparing with 2019, and we're comparing with the last 2 years, 2019 and 2020. If you check in the same month, this year, 2021, we had 36 units was sold compared to last year, which was 23. We can see that we have about 13 more units sold this month. The good news is the average resale price holding up above 260,000 as the average, and it looks, this graph comparing to other one, you can see this blue one compared to the orange and yellow, both of them at the first bar. If you look at the blue one is the highest, so it is a good start 2021. And we will look forward to giving the other months going higher and higher. That was the, do we have the statement, the next page? That is a statement of revenue. Do we have that one? No?
Okay. Brian, can you go ahead and give the next report, please?
Yes, on February 18th, we had our Architectural Control and Standards Committee, very full agenda. We reviewed variances, asbestos matters, and the backlog and the matter alterations. The next meeting is scheduled for March 18th, 9:30 a.m., and it will be a virtual meeting covering much of the same items. Thank you.
You want to give a little update on the asbestos, please?
Sure. Yes, we are looking at a resolution for the asbestos and to define when asbestos abatement is required versus when it is not, to provide some guidance to the membership. Thank you.
Thank you. Kash, will you do member hearings, please?
Yes, thank you, Ms. President. Let me also thank the two members, Elsie Addington and Reza Bastani, for assisting me in this. There were 8 collections and lien enforcement hearings, and 3 disciplinary hearings were conducted, and staff recommendations were accepted in most cases with slight modifications recommended by committee members. That's my report, ma'am. This is a closed meeting, and the next meeting is scheduled for March 25 at 9 a.m., and it's a closed virtual meeting, so it's not open.
Thank you very much. Elsie, governing docs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Governing Documents Review Committee the last one was held on February 18th. And it was mostly a lot of discussions, although staff presented, it's an ongoing project, but there's a new operating rules guidebook that is currently up on the website, and it provides links in many cases to backup documentation like resolutions, bylaws, stuff like that. Anyway, it's a work in progress, and we're going to be working with it, and it will be corrected and enhanced as time goes on. And that's on the documents under United Mutual on the big website. Also, the main thing was we talked about the goals for this year. Excuse me. And those goals here we are. The goals of governing documents, we want to make documentation supportable and easier to use. We want to create simplified one-page explanations of applicable rules to go in residence resale packages, leasing packages, etc. We want to review financial qualifications for members and streamline the resale application process where applicable. Review active resolutions and make sure they're accessible from the web, and ensure deleted or otherwise inoperable resolutions are deleted from the active files and put in the appropriate archive, and to review current SOPs for directors and revise as needed. The next meeting will be on March 18th, 2021 at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Andre, will you give the landscape, please?
Yes, we met on February 11th, and we talked about issues like KPI reports. Landscape has prepared those reports and indicated that the ticket counts has significantly reduced in most work centers for 2021. We will further analyze workload performance to demonstrate these improvements and share with us the leading KPI to forecast what's going to happen in the near future. Second is we review the bagging mower versus mulching mower. This is a very good concept, but we need more financial cost and analysis, financial cost and benefit analysis in there. Will be discussed at the coming meeting. And we also review the service level improvements. This is a very good customer service improvement concept. And we are studying the cost benefit analysis to make sure we pick the one that's really benefit our residents and save us money on that. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, Carl, maintenance.
Yes, United M&C committee meeting took place on February 24th. At the meeting, we discussed where we stand with all the projects that are now being worked within United. Most of the projects have been restarted, as well as the start of our 15-year paint program, which is something we agreed to last year. Most of the project work is performed outside of everyone's home. However, there are some activities that require that we gain access to your unit, and part of this is our public service announcement here. During this pandemic, we have and will continue to ask if you would be willing to permit workmen in your home so that the work can be accomplished. If you say no, we will not schedule the work for your unit. However, please be advised that if you permit the work to be done, the workmen will follow all COVID protocols before they enter your home. Please also be advised that we have been charged by contractors when agreements have been made by residents to gain access to the unit to do the work, and then when the workmen arrive, the resident denies them access. We've been charged as cancellations. We shouldn't have that happen. If you don't want them in your home, please let us know. If you agree to the access, then do not deny access to the workmen. All that being said, hopefully this year this pandemic will subside and most people will be vaccinated. At that time, we will need to go into high gear and allow this work to go forward, and we will just be scheduling the work so that our mechanical and electrical systems remain functional. During the meeting, we also discussed the next steps for addressing electrical vehicle usage in United. Due to the infrastructure shortcomings in our 50-plus-year-old community, we will not be able to modify all the carports to permit all electric cars that are parked overnight to be plugged in for charging. Our carports have 20-amp circuits, and most of the electric vehicles need 12 amps to charge a car overnight. If there are 4 or 5 receptacles in the carport per 20-amp circuit, then only one car will be able to charge for 8 hours at a time. In order to address this shortcoming, SCE, Southern California Edison, has informed us that they will provide infrastructure upgrades in strategic areas to permit the charging of vehicles in the community. They will do this on their dime. In order for us to tap into the infrastructure upgrade, there is an application process we will need to go through, and we would be one of the many areas in California where they will be making this available for us. In United, certain strategically located laundry rooms seem to be the candidates for this upgrade. However, if our applications are accepted and SCE does their work, we will still need to have an outlay of money coming from our budgets to address additional parking spots and the installation of meters and charging units. In addition, there is a cost of upkeep and meter charges. It is a process we are going through at this time, and if we are successful with our application submittal, we will be looking forward to working with SCE and addressing the funds that will be required for this work in our 2022 budget. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 28th at 9:30 a.m. Please come and join us. And as I noted before, if you look in your What's Up in the Village, you will see the specific guidelines as to how to get through and participate on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, Netta, on communication.
Unfortunately, we didn't have any meeting for the United communication, but we had a meeting with GRF, and the only thing that I can tell that I just communicate with the residents through the email. They emailed me about the problem and the issue that they have, and we started to communicate with the VMS and the other board member in the other committee and try to solve the problem. And anytime that they want, I just put my email on the Breeze and the website and the Globe, I think. And my email is n.ardani@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Azar, you're back on for GRF Finance.
Yes. Just a moment. GRF had a finance meeting on February 17. The financial highlights were reported as this. On January 31st, GRF was better than budget by $165,000, primarily due to lower employee compensation expenses. However, utilities were almost 60% unfavorable to their budget. At the meeting, an update was given about insurance. The RFP has been issued for a new broker, and the new broker had a presentation on February 18. Additionally, a cyber liability insurance policy has been secured and is in place as of January 28, 2021. A presentation was given by Sageview in the financial analysis for long-term holding. he suggested that having 10% of money in equities would not be a risk and would increase the returns on investment. Also, there was a presentation from our bank, Bank of America, on why the bank fees are so high. They explained many features that bank offers for that fee. However, we are not in need or can use many of those expensive features. A motion was passed that CFO getting information about other three banks' fee to compare with Bank of America. GRF Finance meeting will not have any meeting on March, and next meeting will be April 21st at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Andre, CA strategic planning, is there any update on that?
No, we'll meet Wednesday next week. That's our first meeting since our United Board meeting.
Thank you. CAC, Elsie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a meeting of the Golden Rain Foundation Community Activities Committee on Thursday, February the 11th, 2021 at 1:30. Items that we discussed were utilization of open activities, updated outdoor activity list, shared fee financial analysis updates, and the July 4th, 2021 Alternative Entertainment Committee. The utilization of open activities and the updated outdoor activity list. Residents who want to know the most current openings and new hours and procedures for outdoor activities are advised to pay attention to the various announcements on our email, because those are always updated. Recreation's really good at getting that information out there. So the blast and what's up in the village, those are all very good resources. We also discussed Garden Center 2 gate. That's an ongoing issue with the Garden Center 2 folks, and also the possible amelioration of the rather extreme speed bumps in Garden Center 2's driveway. Our next meeting is March the 11th at 1:30. Thank you.
Okay. Andre, GRF landscape.
Yes. There is no meeting since last November 30th, 2020. So our next meeting will be tomorrow at 1:30.
Thank you. Carl, GRF maintenance.
Thank you. GRF M&C Committee had a meeting on February 9th. At that meeting, we reviewed the project log for work that is planned to be worked during 2021. With that review, we decided to table certain projects and go forward with others. We were also provided a presentation on the use of microgrid technology in this community. This is something that is being looked into by the M&C Committee because it could save us in electric costs and provide an alternate source of power during blackout situations. At this time, this technology is only being addressed for use at the community center and certain strategic clubhouses. We are in the early stages of this review and planning. We also reviewed the potential project regarding the modifications and upgrades that have been budgeted for the golf driving range. We also performed an on-site walk down with VMS personnel. We are still deciding on how we can reduce the workload and associated costs with regard to this project. Many people on the committee feel that the current budgeted cost is too high and should be reduced. The Performing Arts Center work is still in the planning stages, and we are acquiring bids and putting together scope plans for the work that will be done in that building. The workload has been substantially reduced, as well as the cost from what was presented at last year's meeting. All of the work will now be done piecemeal by different contractors that have experience in the work area that is being considered. For example, the curtains will not be replaced. They will be repaired and cleaned. Only certain sections of the HVAC systems will be replaced, and not everything else, not everything. Also, safety issues will be addressed to ensure we address the warranted safety concerns. Our next currently scheduled meeting will be a virtual meeting that is scheduled for April 14th at 9:30 a.m. And again, that will be by Zoom also. Thank you. And as far as Clubhouse One Ad Hoc Committee, we haven't had a meeting in a while, and a lot of things are happening behind the scenes within the M&C department at VMS. So I'll get back to you on that when we have some things to report.
Thank you, Carl. Netta, Media and Communication.
Media and Communication held on February 22 at 11:30, sorry. And, regarding to the member comments, Ms. Pauline stating that we are moving open meeting to a Zoom platform, which will allow residents to come on and ask questions and receive answer live. Mr. Holland added that the goal is to move all committee meetings to the Zoom platform beginning with the March meeting. A few reports and talk about the February-March 2021 issue of the Village Breeze, the new board training series, board of director handbook, and vaccination clinic in Clubhouse 9. And about the broadband, Ms. Pauline stated that the GRF board made the decision to rerun and discuss the broadband group's report at the next board meeting. And Mr. Holland present the year-end financials for broadband service, media services, TV studio, and the Media and Communication Administration within the Media and Communication Department. He went over the revenue too. And the next meeting is going to be March 15 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Manuel, the security.
Madam Chair.
Ma'am?
Can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get.
The last meeting of this committee was held February 22nd, and there are a number of were brought to our attention by the department head, such as RV update. There's only a couple of spaces available, and the performance of security having to do with gardens and our various cul-de-sacs. One of the things that came out of particular significance was that several committee members were concerned about the fact that we had discontinued the issuance of decals for the car, even though they had the RFIDs. So enough members of the committee were in favor of reinstituting it on a one basis, where you will issue the decal, but won't have to have the annual sticker that qualifies you for that year. It'd just be a one-time issue. And so by consensus, there was the direction given to Chief Rojas. And at the next meeting, he's supposed to come back with a financial analysis of what that cost would involve. But the committee, by consensus, gave him that direction to follow up on that. And the concern there was, even though maybe a guest might have come in through the gate because they're supposed to be doing a better job with the security gates and with clearing people, but occasionally people did that aren't authorized. And without the decal on the autos, it's difficult to tell whether somebody is really in the village legally to stay overnight. So I think that is a very positive step, and we'll have more to report on in the future. Another important thing that came out of the meeting, which again I am very much in favor of, and so was the committee, is that in the I guess it came from the Disaster Preparedness Committee, and Cash and his group didn't work, but they came up with a proposal where they can install a device called a Fire Avert to your stove. And based on the analysis that Chief Rojas gave us, the majority of the fires in the community are caused by kitchen fires. And as much much as like 8% of those are caused by unattended stoves, or they'll leave their stoves on, don't even know they've left them on, they left the unit. And so what this device will do, and what they're proposing is installing these in, I believe there's 6 units in each of Third and United, and it's only a cost of $930. And the only drawbacks to it are that if they install the unit, it's at the back of your stove, so it doesn't fit flush against the wall unless they do some minor alterations. But again, it didn't seem like any major thing. The other drawback is that in order for the device to go off, only goes off is your smoke detector is able to tell that there's smoke from that fire. And when the smoke detector gets set off, then that sets off the fire alert device, which is supposed to turn electricity to your stove and prevent the fire from continuing. Again, the committee voted in favor of that. And I think only a couple of dissenting votes, but it was enough of a majority. Yeah, I've got it right here. So it was a vote of 5-2 in favor of it. The Director Maldo and Advisor Cunningham voted against it. But I'm not quite sure how they're going to implement it. They're supposed to, I guess, work through M&C in each of the mutuals. One director made the comment, it was Maggie Blackwell, as a matter of fact, she said, you know, this makes a lot of sense to install them throughout the village because maybe it'll help us with our insurance costs. And on that note, our insurance premiums are going to basically rely a lot on the market, whatever the market is out there. However, I believe that if we installed the devices throughout the community, if we provided each manor or unit with fire extinguishers, and then if we went on a program of removing pine trees where they're planted in the wrong areas, too close to the manor or planter area lawn, and then invited our insurance broker and maybe one of the major insurance companies to come in and look, perhaps that might be enough to lower some of our rates by being proactive and trying to have a community here that has done everything they can to eliminate the fire risk. That's the major thing that I wanted to comment on from this report. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 15th, I think at 1:30 in the afternoon in a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Traffic hearing, Snetta.
We had the 33 violation, but no hearing. Is the most of the violation is about the no valid decal or the parking permit. And the next meeting is going to be March 17. But I got the email from Elsie that is kind of interesting. If you want, I can just read it for the more information for the residents.
Please
it's
do.
About the it's about the traffic rule and it's about the contractor. It says that owners are mailed out traffic rules every year. When they go to the manor alteration to obtain the permit, they are also given given the rules on where the contractor are allowed to park. When entering the community, the gate also advises the contractors. Vehicles are allowed to unload and load their vehicles in the cul-de-sac. Once that is done, they are to immediately move their vehicles and park them on the main street. And this is I think is a very important because a lot of contractors, they are getting the ticket and the owner is the responsible to that.
Okay, thank you. Cash disaster.
Thank you, Ms. President. Since Director Armendar has brought the subject about this fire alert system, maybe I'll fill in what's happening. We have handpicked 14 residents for their health condition and who are more suspected or possibility of creating fires. And 6 units trial basis is about to be installed. The question is the funds. And the cost is not $900. It's less than a very small amount. Plus, we'll get some rebates. That's what I'm working on. Other than that, the task force never met last month, and January 26th was the last meeting, and which has already been reported. The next meeting is on the March 17th at 9 a.m., and it is a virtual meeting. Everybody's welcome. Thank you. That's my report.
Okay, I'll give the insurance update. We have looked at 2 brokers. We have asked the brokers to go forward. The broker on registration will be Marsh. We also have another broker that is looking at getting us a 5-year deal from companies in Korea, and we're working with them. If they can get this deal for us, we will go forward with them. And we've given them over 30 days to get this good deal for the insurance, and we will be making a very close look at what they get us. And so they're a local company, and we will be working with them. They're going to really go forward and work with us as hard as they can to get our business. And we are working hard with them to make sure they have all the information they need to get us a good quote with a 5-year backing. So that's where we're at. Beecher Carlson has been told that they are no longer our broker as of March 23rd or 4th, and we will be switching over this deal is one that no one else can get to except for this company, so we will not have, it is no conflict of interest between the 2 brokers, and we'll be working very hard to get it. Okay, that brings us to the end of the meeting. To the director.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. I had vehicles and mobility.
Oh, I'm very sorry. You shouldn't be sorry. I should be sorry. Go ahead, please, Elsie.
Well, this is a quickie, Madam Chair. The vehicles and the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, which is also known as the Transportation Committee, met on February 3rd, and it was reported on at the last meeting for United. And the next meeting will be April the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Thank you.
I'm very sorry, Elsie.
Perfectly all right.
Okay. Raise your hand if you have a director comment that you want to make. Okay, Manuel, go ahead.
Thank you, Sue. On the insurance, I don't know if you are familiar with admitted carriers and non-admitted carriers.
An admitted carrier that we're looking at.
The one from Korea?
Yeah.
Okay, because that is kind of troublesome to have the insurance company from outside the United States, because if for some reason they didn't perform, legally you'd have a lot of problems, okay? So I just gonna add that. And then my earlier comment about Civil Code 5515, that's a new item I just brought up. So all you directors need to look at that, because it has definitely been violated. We have not been in conformance, and it's probably happened throughout all the mutuals for years. So we're not just talking about something new. It's just that until we had the separate bank account, I suspected this was happening, and now there's no doubt in my mind, because transaction in January where $2 million of T-bills were matured and went directly in the operating account. That is a violation of Civil Code 5515. So look that up, please. It will be enlightening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre?
Yes, I have some comment on the, I know recently VMS has mentioned that their staff skills are underutilized, but I look at 2020 expense, and the membership subscription fee is used only 25%. Publication subscription fee is only used about 40%. And mostly the training budget is underutilized, and it's used only 20%. So please provide the training where they want to get involved and help us establish. I know we are struggling with industry standards best practice. Ask them to bring back the industry standards best practice, and let's try it, give it a try. Okay, I know we have difficulty getting into those things, but this training opportunity and getting staff involved is definitely the right way to go. And also, Sue mentioned that we need to give staff positive comments. I've been passing on compliments from the residents to landscape. I'm a landscape chair. So I've been passing on the positive compliments to the department. And I believe they enjoy it because they never come back and say, we don't like it. And, but on the other hand, we also need to do the same thing to the residents. We don't want to just state the rules and say, you cannot do this one, you cannot do that one. We want to help them out and how to solve the problem. They brought up the issue. It's probably in the gray area. How are we going to make it happen? And so there's a happy compromise in between. Hopefully we'll work together and residents appreciate VMS support and VMS provide the support that will make the residents happy. Thank you very much.
Azar?
Madam President, you jumped from 14 to 16, and that future agenda, which was the 360 investigation. Are we discuss about that?
No, we don't discuss it until it gets put onto the agenda. It's just kept as a placeholder, and when it gets put on.
And this is going to be for next meeting?
I don't know. We'll have to discuss that in the agenda prep meeting. That is discussed in the agenda prep meeting, what we put on the agenda.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that's the way it's done. Anything else, anybody? Thank you very much.
Yes, I had my hands were up.
Okay, I just got it. Yeah, go ahead, Reza, and then Cash.
Can you repeat the name of two insurance companies? Because I didn't catch them.
Marsh is the insurance company that will be we will be taking over for until we get the other insurance company we have not.
How do you spell that?
What?
How do you spell Marsh?
M-A-R-S-H.
And the other one, the Korean one, what's the name?
I cannot give you the name on the Korean one. That is still we're still working with that. At this point in time, I can't give you that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and then Cash.
Well, I have one small comment. We have some electric vehicles, Teslas, for instance, roaming around. And I have a plug-in hybrid, which is a much smaller electric battery, but the charges are still the same for all, at $240 a year. And that's not fair because the Tesla gives 400-mile radius versus mine gives 25-mile radius. The objective of my purchasing this one was I could use local commute, but the charges need to be looked at. Maybe this is a GRF issue, but I thought I would bring it because both Siobahn and Mr. Parker are here. That's why I mentioned the comment. Great meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, it is 11:23. I will give you 45 minutes. We'll be at 12:15. We will start again. 12:15.
Thank you.
Do we go off, or
you don't have to go off? Just